Chapter 27. Mariam's Story. 4 soldiers came to Mariam's house on her birthday. She was just 5. Her mama had made her a cake and she was very happy, playing outside with her friends. One soldier asked, "Is father in?" She was frightened and wanted to scream, but her voice was dead. Then her mama came to the door and cried, "What do you want?" But they pushed her away. There was no time for her father to hide. The soldiers pulled him from the house. All the children were crying. Her father was calling, "No, no, let me walk. I will come with you. I don't want my children to see any fighting." The soldiers shouted, "You are a dog, not a man. You've been helping the rebels. We know you give them milk from your sheep." Her mother was crying, "No, no, where are you taking him?" They said, "You will see later." That was the last time Mariam saw her father. It was President Barre who sent the soldiers. Then the president sent his aeroplanes. They dropped bombs all over Hargeisa, the town where Mariam lived. A bomb fell on the house and the roof from one wall broke down. Mariam's neighbour took them in. They went to sleep on the floor underneath the beds. They kept their clothes on so they could run if they had to. Later, the soldiers came back. This time they were setting fire to houses and shooting. Bullets were flying around like bees. The soldiers were killing men and boys right in front of their families. They said they were looking for rebels. The bodies were left in the street because people were too frightened to bury them. Soldiers said 10-year-old boys were helping the rebels. Mariam's mama said they must leave immediately because if the soldiers found Hassan, he would be killed. Hassan was Mariam's brother and he was 10. Most of the men and older boys who were still alive ran away to fight. Her mama said they should go to Kenya. She told Mariam and Hassan, "It is far, but we shall be safe there." People were leaving the town like water from a tap that cannot be turned off. They were mostly old people, women and children. They had to walk. Soon their legs were swollen and they were burning from the sun. After 2 days they started walking at night because the soldiers made roadblocks in the day. At night they heard lions roaring, but they were more frightened of the soldiers. Sometimes they passed bodies piled up at the side of the road. The smell was horrible and their mother told them, "Do not look." But Mariam peeked through her fingers. She wished she had listened to her mama. It seemed as if there was no end to their journey. Mariam thought her legs would drop off. Then her brother Hassan managed to buy a donkey in a village and the younger children took turns in riding it. Mariam's mama said that Hassan was now the man of the family. After some more days and nights, Mariam's mama became very ill. The pain was so bad they had to stop. Her dress was covered in blood around her legs. Women came to help her, and Mariam became scared that Mama was going to die. Later, a woman told Mariam, "Your mother will be all right, but the baby is dead." She didn't even know that her mother was going to have a baby. Hassan made a small hole in the dry ground. He tried to dig it deep so the animals couldn't get at it, but the earth was hard and dry. Mariam didn't know if the dead baby was a little sister or brother. She only saw a tiny bundle of cloth that was placed in the hole. Hassan covered it with dry sand. After many days, they reached Mogadishu. It was a very big place, the capital of their country, but they didn't know anyone there. Mogadishu people were amazed at how far they'd walked, all the way across Somalia. Some Mogadishu people gave them food and told them how to find the harbour in the boats that would take them to Kenya. The boat was really frightening. Hundreds of people were packed onto a small boat as if they were fish in a net. When their drinking water was finished, they almost died. One night there was a storm and the waves crashed over them. People were crying and praying because they believed they were going to drown. They were trapped in the boat for 15 days. The sun was rising when their boat sailed into Mombasa. They had come all the way safely to Kenya. Now people were crying and praying, thanks to Allah. But when they saw soldiers by the harbour, they became quiet again. They became frightened because they'd had to run away from soldiers. But these soldiers helped them onto trucks. They didn't have to walk anymore. Their bones were aching as the trucks bumped over the roads, but they were happy to be back on land. They reached the refugee camp at sunset. They'd never seen anything like it. There were homes made out of tents and plastic sheets as far as the eyes could see. Smoke was rising everywhere from little fires. People were cooking food for the night. It looked such a strange place. Mariam cried because it was so different from their home in Hargeisa, but Mama said they were lucky to be there. Mariam and her family stayed in the refugee camp for nearly 6 years. It was very hard, but the most terrible thing was not knowing what had happened to their father. They heard that President Barre had fled their country, but the fighting was still going on. When Mariam was 11 years old, the news began to get better. Her mama began to make plans to go home. Then a letter arrived that changed their lives again. It was from her father's brother in London. Charity workers had helped him to find them, but he had very bad news from them. Their father had died in prison, so their uncle wanted them to come to live with him in London. He owned a small shop and was going to look after them. He was going to work hard to get the right papers for them, then he was going to come for them. Mariam's mama agreed to his plan. She said it would give her children a chance, but when her uncle arrived, Mariam's brother Hassan refused to come to London. He said he was going back to their home in Hargeisa and wanted to live in Somalia. He wanted to find out for himself what had happened to their father. Her mama begged him not to go. It was still not safe. Their home had been bombed. Nothing would be left of it now. He was only 16. They hadn't heard from him since that day.